This is the Soul-Filled Sisterhood podcast, and I'm your host, Nicole Burgess, licensed psychotherapist and soul-led leadership coach to high-achieving and highly sensitive professional women. The information shared in this podcast is not a substitute, nor is it to convey professional, psychological, financial, or medical advice. If you could use such services, please seek them out from someone you trust. Now here is today's episode. Episode 152. Have you ever wondered what your inner power may look like as an animal? Well, head over to NicoleBurgessCoaching.com/quiz and you can find out. It's just a quick 2-minute quiz that I created for you. This is a topic that comes up so often in my coaching work with women where they stand in their power and feeling empowered. And so you can head over there, NicoleBurgessCoaching.com/quiz and check this quick little thing out for you. And if you want more tips and information, you can just sign up after you take the quiz. Well, welcome, sisters. Oh, I'm excited to have this conversation with my upcoming guest today. I have Kira Polson on today, and she is a mother to 5 children, an intuitive spiritual entrepreneurship coach right up my alley, a 2-time author, and the CEO of Freedom House Publishing Company. She is also the podcast host of the Awaken podcast. Kira helps women who feel inspired to make a huge impact in the world write transformative books of light. She teaches them how to receive their book with spiritual tools that allow for the creation of the book to come through in under 2 months' time. Kira then helps them create successful businesses of light derived from the message of their book. It is her deepest belief that women who are receiving powerful messages of truth from the divine are here to share these messages through published books and create powerful and successful businesses of light that will impact humanity for the better. Well, Kira, I just want to say thank you so much for being on today.
Oh, thank you so much for having me. I'm really excited to be here.
I think you were just a great guest that's going to hit a lot of my listeners because I know so many of them are intuitive, so many of them have spiritual practices, or highly sensitives, or empaths, all of that fun stuff. So can you share just a little bit with them, like what got you into all the things that you're doing? Like what got you into being an entrepreneur, coach, and a writer, and all of that?
Well, I think I was always an entrepreneur. I remember being 12 and starting a dance studio in my parents' garage and making like $20 a month, teaching all the neighbor kids how to dance. So it's just who I think I was like created to be. I've always ran my own businesses. I had a massage business for 19 years. I had a photography business for about a decade. And that was all pre my awakening. Mm-hmm. And so entrepreneurship is just like in my cells. But then I did have a really painful, as most awakenings are, it was a very painful awakening where I had a lot of my trauma memories of being sexually abused as a child came through. And that moment broke my identity. It broke me, like my attachments to who I was. It broke my attachments to actually everything in life. Mm-hmm. And I made a really clean and deep commitment that I would live my life guided by the divine. And that declaration changed every aspect. And in 4 years, I've created this really powerful business that every aspect has just been guided. So I didn't actually choose. I didn't wake up one day like, I'm going to own a publishing house. I'm going to be a spiritual entrepreneurship coach. It was like breadcrumb after breadcrumb that led me to this space.
Beautiful. And it's the awakening process often, and there's a lot of folks that I work with and part of groups that we say that we continue to be awakened. We're not woke, but it's an ongoing process that we continue to learn. We continue to unfold. We continue to unlearn stuff that happened from old woundings, old stories, past abuse, things like that. And for you, what a beautiful thing that coming out really on the other side, you're just like, okay, this declaration of I'm going to just be divinely guided and trusting that process, which I know can be challenging at times to do that because our ego loves to get in the way.
Yes. Yes, it does. And you're right. I do feel like actually every day is an awakening. Like every morning I spend time healing,
Hmm.
and that's not always easy. Crap is always getting pulled up, especially when we expand.
Yeah.
It's like the ground breaks and all the old stuff just rises.
Yes, it does. Well, so that really brings me then to my next question. The work that you do with the women that you work with, what are like the top maybe 5 issues or struggles that you often hear from them who are wanting to make an impact in the world, but what stops them,
Hmm.
gets in their way?
Yes. One of the biggest ones is being seen. Like
Hmm.
really afraid to be seen in their gifts, because every woman I work with has extraordinary spiritual gifts of sight, of hearing, they just have so many amazing gifts that they're really afraid to be seen in those gifts. And that stops them from writing their books, from creating their businesses. And so we get to really go in and uncover that. We get to do some healing work. We get to clear out the space so that they feel safe to
Hmm.
be seen. So that would be number one. And then, the sneaky one that always says, like, who am I?
Yep.
Who am I to write a book? Who am I to do this? And the truth is like, to me, that is like a qualification that you are. Like, that's a humble statement.
Hmm.
Like, who am I? Yeah, that's why the divine chose you, because you are wondering, who am I? And that's why you're going to be a really great vessel for this work, you know?
Hmm.
So I would say those are the top two. And then the third is I I coach women who are creatives, which means they have about 87 ideas at all at the same time. You know
Yep.
this? You know this kind of person?
Yep.
Yeah, that's how I work. I have a
Hmm.
bazillion ideas at all times. And so one of my greatest strengths is strategy. And so I get to help women learn how to strategize. How do we actually birth a litter? Like that's how it
Hmm.
comes through. It's not like I don't feel like the divine says, okay, write this book. Oh, and then in 8 months, I want you to create this course. Like, no, the divine's like, okay, write a book and an oracle set and a course
Hmm.
all at the same time.
Yep.
And so,
Because here it is. I'm
uh,
dumping the information down. You got to grab it.
right? Those are like the top three struggles, but it's also like my favorite kind of people to work with. It's so
Hmm.
fun.
Well, especially if you really excel at the strategy, because it can be, I know for me anyways, I can get pretty lost in that creative process. And like, now what's the next step? Because there are
Yeah.
so many different things pulling and they all sound really good. And I think they're all great ideas, but now what? Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. It's interesting. I didn't actually realize that was my gift. I don't know. Have you ever read the book, The Genius Zone? Have you ever read that? Or what's his other one? It's Gay Hendricks, The Big Leap. Did you
Oh,
ever read
yes. The
that book?
big leap.
Oh,
Yes.
yes.
Yes. Yes. Yes.
Okay,
And not the
so
genius zone, but yeah, the other
The
one. Yeah. Yeah.
Genius Zone is brand new.
Okay.
He just launched it. You got to read it. You'll love it. But he talks about like your gift is like so natural to you that you wouldn't even see it. You wouldn't even think to teach it to people because it's so natural.
Oh, I love that.
Yeah. And I kept thinking, like, oh, yeah, I know what my gifts are. I know what they are. But then I'd see these holes where women weren't succeeding the way I wanted them to
Uh-huh.
succeed. They weren't getting the results I was getting. And then I took this test. What is it called? I don't know what it's called. It's one of those strength finder tests.
Oh,
And
yeah. Yep.
my number one was strategy. And I was like, oh my gosh, this was my gift that I didn't even like. I just thought everyone knew how to do this because it was
Right.
so easy for me. And then I was like, oh, now we're playing. So then
Hmm.
I started teaching strategy, and it was like, man, everyone's results got so much better. And it's just a proof like the gifts that we have, we think are so simple. And those are the things that we have to teach.
Yeah. Yeah, because like you're saying, and like I'm guessing what his book also really, yeah, it's like it's just so natural to you. You don't
Yeah.
see or think that people don't automatically know how to do these things, whatever it may be,
Yeah.
and yet they don't. Yeah.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
oh,
I love
love
that book
it.
so much.
You'll have to
Hmm.
get it. And ladies, I'll put it in the resource down at the bottom of the show notes as well, so you can get that. But, well, so are there any other kind of couple other issues or struggles that you see besides the being seen? And I get that because, again, when it comes to the creatives, the spiritual piece, the intuitives, the empaths, things like that, there's often, right, you're seen outside of tradition. And it can
Yeah.
feel scary when you've got these incredible gifts and not everybody really is open to that.
Hmm.
But yet the world needs that.
Yes.
They need your gifts to be out there. So I'm curious if there's any couple more that you wanted to list off here.
Well, a lot of the women I work with, they experience, I mean, we just kind of name it like darkness, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like they experience like massive levels of resistance. And most of them have had a lot of trauma in their background. I
Mm-hmm.
believe trauma is actually something that cracks us open and it brings our gifts through.
Mm-hmm.
And so I get to really teach women how to do a daily healing practice because the light is coming through so fast for these women that
Mm-hmm.
they're expanding at such high levels that the crap just shows up so fast. And so I'm like, I can't do healing work on every single person I coach. So then I was like, how do I teach them all how to do a daily practice of
Oh
healing
yeah, love
so
that.
that they can stay out of the dark? Because otherwise, the dark just wants to swallow up those who are light.
Mm-hmm.
The fastest way to snuff it out: fear, self doubt,
Mm-hmm.
resistance at like high levels. And so, I mean, that's definitely something that I see in my own life and in the women that I work with.
And when we talk about the darkness, right? In previous podcasts, we've talked about it being shadow work, and that it's not a bad thing. That sometimes
Yeah.
we need to, be open and explore it and kind of go into it, but it's not getting stuck in it. And that's what you're
Yeah.
saying. Having that daily practice of healing it also can help you stay very grounded and in the moment, and not get sucked back into the past or sucked into the fear, and then just get wallowed up by it, swallowed up by it, so you can
Yeah.
keep moving forward. Yeah.
So
Well,
true.
I'm curious, and you said you went through some of your own healing experience. What are some of the lessons that you've really learned about yourself through this journey at being truly a spiritual entrepreneur? Like, what are some of the things like you look back and you go, wow, not besides being extremely resilient, what else have you learned about you?
I actually really see that I'm very smart. And
Mm-hmm.
I don't think I saw that. I mean, I had a 2.7 in high school. I could care less about school. It was
Mm-hmm.
like very far from who I was. And I actually grew up thinking I wasn't smart. I was kind of dumb.
Wow.
And after this awakening, I mean, I know we're always awakening, but this
Right.
exact moment in my life is what I've been able to do, guided by the divine with my gifts. I'm like, oh my gosh, I'm really smart.
Mm-hmm.
And that's a powerful place for me to stand now.
Yeah. It really is, especially if there's ever been people in your life who's saying, well, you're not that smart or you're not that
Yeah.
creative, or again, who are you to think you could do these sort of things? I mean, my gosh, like you're saying, you've created businesses since you've been a little girl. And if
Yeah.
there are anybody who would say, well, you can't have that, or you couldn't create that, or you're too young for
Yeah.
that, it's just like busting through so many of those things. And it's like, yeah, I've got some brains. Thank you very much.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
It's like owning that and I think it's a generational and even a cultural thing. Like for a woman to own a six-figure business that
Mm-hmm.
she created and have five kids, like
Mm-hmm.
it's like kind of scary to stand in that place and be like, yeah, like this is who I am. This is
Mm-hmm.
what I've been able to create. The world, like, I think it has a hard time really like accepting it.
Mm-hmm.
It's like, it's a new place to be.
Well, it's also, I think, you being a mom of five kids, showing your children the
Yeah.
possibilities of things, that you really can create something that does work for you, that does work for your family, and not, it has to look this specific way and only this way. It's like, nope, there's other ways to do it. And I've
Yeah.
done it.
Yeah. I actually had a really powerful moment with one of my teenagers last night. He's like on the verge of adulthood and
Mm-hmm.
life. And man, it's rough. This world is rough on these teens.
Mm-hmm.
And he wants to be a professional musician. And
Mm.
he's just like so frustrated and like nothing's working out. And I can't figure these things out. And what is my future going to look like? And I just was able to look at him like, babe, like, look at what I've created in 4 years.
Mm-hmm.
Like anything is possible. You can do this. And
Yep.
he like felt it and knew it. And I thought, if I was only to create what I've created to give my children this belief that anything is possible, then that is enough for me. Like
Yeah.
that moment was powerful.
Yeah. And it goes back though, that you can see this for yourself, right? Really, again, kind of pat yourself on the back. And I'm not saying like an egotistical way, but just like I am proud of myself for what I have done and where I have come from and what I've created and the message I can now share with my children. And if your son really took that into his body and just let that resonate, it's like, there you go. And just like you said earlier, it's like breadcrumb by breadcrumb. We don't go from A to Z in one big leap, right?
No.
It's like we take all these small steps that get us to these places that we want to be, but at the same time, be open to receiving what's going to come on the path that may be even bigger, better than what we've ever even imagined, or more in alignment for what we're wanting to create or do in the world. That if we only said there was one way to do it and not open to receive those gifts, we would miss out.
Oh, that's so beautifully said. And what an exciting journey. That's the way I look at it. Like 4 years ago, I never would have imagined that I would do what I get to do now. Like that is so fun. And who knows what in 4 years it will be.
Yep.
Like the best journey ever. It's like Christmas all the time.
I love that mindset. Yeah, that is beautiful. Well, I am curious. I know we talked about some of the things that kind of stop women from kind of, getting themselves kind of out there. What are some of the things that you have experienced with the work that you do with them where they start to kind of even get in their own way, I like to say, where they're building that business that actually works with them? I often will say in the different episodes, working with your temperament, working with your temperament, your speed, your style. What gets in the women's way that you work with? And you're like, oh, here's some themes I'm hearing and seeing.
Well, I think I learned this from one of my coaches, Richie Norton, and it literally changed the face of my business, is when he said, we build your business around the life you want to live.
Oh, I love that.
Do not build it the other way. Yeah. And it changed. Like I was like, oh, work has a hard stop at 4 every day. As soon as my kids walk in that door, it is done. And I saw abundance flow after I really made some clear boundaries. So I watched the women navigate like overworking and then underworking, and we just have to like bring it back in, like, well, like what's the lifestyle you want? I know you could have someone pick up your kids from school, but if you want to, then that's what we create. Like you pick your kids up from school, you take them to soccer practice, not like this is how the world thinks it should look. Build the life you want to. And that seems to, it's a hard concept for a lot of people. And then once it begins to settle in, it works.
Well, because it goes really here in the US, it really goes against the grain of what it's supposed to look like as an entrepreneur, right? Yeah. It's like you fit the mold of what others are needing and wanting, not the other way around. And so that really is a huge mind shift. Build it around the lifestyle that you want. Yeah. So ego again likes to get in the way and say, resist that, just do what others do. And you're like, nope, that's what creates exhaustion or creates that frustration. Like you're saying, if you want to go pick your kids up versus having someone else pick them up or attend to the sporting events or whatever they're involved in, it's like, if you want to do that, it's about designing it. And it can work. Like you've said, you're like, got abundance. I've done it 4 o'clock and abundance is still here. Hasn't gone away.
Yeah, it actually picked up. And that's why I saw, okay, this is the magic. And it was because my energy picked up, my joy picked up. And so abundance just flows in when we are in those higher vibrations.
Yeah. When you really just answered the next question for you is like, why is it so important to have a business that works for you versus trying to fit into other people's boxes? One, it's a higher vibrational state. Your energy is there. The money also can flow because you're not blocking it or feeling resentment or low energy all the time.
Yeah, totally. And I just find like when I get burnt out, as I do, no matter how hard I try, burnout is just part of the path I walk. And burnout is actually where darkness and like heaviness, it hits me. It's like my Achilles heel is open or something. And so I really see the value of, I get to do what I love every single day and I still burn out.
Mm-hmm.
What would happen if I did something I didn't love all day long
Yeah.
and burned out? Like you wouldn't recuperate.
Right.
And so it's like so important that we do what we love.
Well, and I think, the pandemic is still going on. It's not
Yeah.
done.
Yeah.
We're in a different wave of it. And it's recognizing it's like life is short, life is precious.
Yeah.
I know I say this often with the clients that I currently work with, and they're like, yep, so true, because so many people I know have lost somebody to COVID.
Yeah.
And it's like, if you are able to start that side business, until you make enough that you get out of the corporate world that you're in, or a job that you don't like or love, like what you're saying, it's like, yeah, burnout can absolutely happen even in there are things that we love to do. Cause again, you can get really excited about stuff and you're like, oh yeah, I got to take time off. I forgot.
Right. Is really what happens.
Yep. But your body's like, girl, you got to slow this down for a second.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's like, you can recoup so much faster doing what you love to do versus dreading doing what you do and burning out at the same time. So yeah,
Yeah.
it's a gift. Life is a gift for sure. Well,
Yes.
I'm curious, Kira, what are some of the other things that you really help women kind of see as whether they're building their business or realigning their business? What are some, I want to say, almost like non-traditional ways of business building do you help these women see as they're going through these stages or steps or work with you?
Well, the spiritual world is a huge aspect to my life and to business. And so that's a big part of what I teach women. I teach them how to work with their angels every morning, teach them how to call in their perfect clients with their angels.
Beautiful.
And how to like manage their day. So I'm like, my angels help me time block really well. Like I'll say, all right, I need 4 hours today to work on this project. And I give it over and I'll watch like, oh, well, 2 clients had to reschedule today. That was amazing. Thank you so much, angels. Like they literally will just time block my day if I'm very clear on what I need. So that's a big piece to what we do over in my world is like guiding these women like, yeah, you can do Facebook ads all day long, but like send your angels, let your angels take the ads to the right people. And if you do that, the people who come in from those ads are going to be perfect fit. You're not going to be like, throwing like, oh my gosh, only 1 out of 20 was the perfect fit. It's like, nope. If you use your angels, 20 out of 20 is going to be a perfect fit.
Love it. Yeah. That's awesome. And again, this is not the traditional way of building a business or working your business, though, which I love.
Right?
Yeah. Well, I want to pivot for just a little bit. And I'm curious for you, as you've gone through all of your changes and your awakenings, who has been, I guess, inspiration to you, or what have been some of the things that have inspired you? They can be people, they can be things, whatever.
Well, Benjamin Hardy, he was the very first coach I ever worked with. And it was in like a big, huge, like mastermind. It wasn't one-on-one, but there's something in the way that he speaks that like, it makes a lot of sense to my brain. And I just work in massive levels with him. So then I took a break and I worked with, a ton of other coaches. And I just recently went back into his mastermind and holy crap, the changes. I'm like, all right, I'm a Ben person. For some reason, his work works for me. So Benjamin Hardy was a top one. Alana Fairchild is one of my favorite spiritual guru guides. Her oracle cards are a huge part of my practice.
Okay.
Her meditations are really, really powerful. I even had her on my podcast last year and I almost like cried and like almost threw up. And it was like the best day of my life.
It's like the fangirl gets to truly meet somebody. You're just like, wow, you've really changed my world. Yeah.
Yeah. It was like super crazy. So those two are really big pieces. I will say one of my top favorite teachers is Florence Scovel Shinn.
Oh, yes.
Oh gosh, her words. I mean, I just feel like if she was alive, I would be best friends with her.
Yep.
Like I love her so much.
I think she'd have a lot of people from my podcast as well. We'd all be like, hey, we're all hanging out still because, we love Florence. So,
Oh my gosh, Florence.
Mhm.
Good. Like I just love her. So those are like my
I love
top
it.
teachers. Mm-hmm.
Well, and ladies, again, I'll have these links and resources and stuff in the show notes because it's always fun to hear who has impacted my guest. And some of them may be, common threads. Others, it's just different people. And like you said, even with like Benjamin, like there's something that he says or how he says it, the messages, how he delivers it really resonates for you.
Yeah.
And I love how you also shared, like, you've worked with different coaches too. I have too. I've worked with coaches. I've worked with therapists. And I think they all come into life at a time where you need them or are looking for them.
Yeah.
But then it's like, okay, if you keep going back to the ones like that one really resonated more, like you're saying, like you keep up leveling, you're just like, wow, it's like a whole new dimension now. So that's awesome.
Yeah. I mean, I have a therapist always. That's just a part of my self-care.
Yep.
And then I always have a coach, and I actually am in a shamanic school. So
fun.
like the level is very deep, and I take that very seriously. Like if I'm going to show up and do the work I'm here to do in the world, I have to show up in deep support for myself.
Yeah, absolutely. Oh, I love it. I really want to shift one more time before I know we share all your resources and stuff like that. Say just a little bit about your publishing company, because again, I was reading through your bio there at the beginning and how you're helping women, get to a place where they can really write within like about 2 months because I get the downloaded information. What helped you really go that route and create that business?
So that was a very divinely guided experience. When I wrote my book, which I didn't have a business, I had nothing. I just felt very inspired to write a book. I had this very strong feeling that I needed to create a publishing house that I could publish other women through. I was like, what? That's weird. But I did it. I followed it because that was my commitment. Like I will follow everything I'm given. So I met with the lawyers. I did everything. I set it all up, set up the bank account for it. And it just sat there for 2 years. It just sat. Nothing happened. And I remember getting the notification that it was going to close because, they take these dividends out, and I had $14 left. And I was like, I'm just going to close that. Like, what was I thinking? And I went to close it, and I literally heard like audibly from the heavens, like, do not close this account. So I threw $100 into it, and I was like, whatever. And about 2 months later, one of the women I was coaching said, I just wrote a book. How do we publish it? And I was like, oh my gosh, I own a publishing house. Let's figure it out together. And now, I've trained a publishing team, and I have this really epic strategized system for people to go through very easily. And we have 4 books being published this month. So it's like, wow, so rad. Because like such a rad experience of like, sometimes the divine asks us to do something and it takes a bit for it to come alive. But also like the books we publish are books of light. They're books. I mean, that's the requirement. Like, is it going to add light to this world? Fantastic. Yes. And we have children's books that bring light. We have spiritual books. And my daughter is she is launching and publishing her very first book this month. And my prayer is that it launches a whole new arm of this publishing house for young girls and teenagers to publish their work.
Oh, that is incredible.
I know. I'm so excited. I can't even tell you.
Yeah.
I know.
That's so cool. So cool. Well, it is funny, right? That again, you got that message really clear. It's like, it's been sitting here for 2 years, only has $14 in it. Let me just close it. Yeah, no, don't you dare. We got stuff going on, and it's in our timing, not yours.
Right? Oh, and I'm so grateful I didn't close it, because this aspect, I mean, all aspects of my business are joy, but helping women birth their books, it is truly a liberation. It liberates their soul, but I see it liberates all the women who came before them. Yep. All the women who couldn't speak their truths, all the women who couldn't share their gifts. They all become liberated when we bring our work to the world.
I love it. That's why, again, doing the work that you're doing, it's facing those fears, right? Similar to some of the stuff I do. I don't do book publishing whatsoever, but part of it is just helping other women, just like you are here for a reason, and not allowing that fear to stop you from bringing what you are divinely called to bring. It's big, very, very big. Oh, so
it's
cool.
very exciting. I know. I can't wait. My daughter's only 9. And what's so rad is that one of the women that I coached, she created an affirmation cards deck for children. Her name is Veronica Rogers. Like, everyone should go buy it for their kids. It's
so cool.
Gorgeous. And so I bought it for Presley, my little girl, and she just sat in our living room and just poured over these. And she stood up and she said, I think I have things to write.
Wow.
And so I just grabbed her paper and I watched for 2 hours. This little girl did not leave our living room, and she wrote 40 affirmations. Like, this girl freaking channeled this light through.
Wow.
And then she was finished. She got up and she was like, okay. And she left the room. And I just like read through these pages and I was like, oh my gosh, this is a book. And so I asked her, I said, what do you want to, she said, what should the title be? And I said, I need you to ask God. So the next morning she woke up and she said, so God told me the book is called The Power of Light.
Oh, wow.
Oh my gosh, girl. Yes.
So beautiful.
So I just feel as we rise as women, then all the young girls and the teenagers will rise.
Yep. Yeah. It's always continuing to shift it for the next generation and allowing them to, not be held back by the shackles and the chains and everything else that keeps women down. Yeah. I love it. Well, Kira, share with my lady listeners how they can find you, whether it's your website, your social media, and then also I know you've got a free gift for them. Share how they could get that as well.
So my Instagram is Kira Polson. That's the fastest way. It's also the most up to date because I have 87 ideas all the time. My website is never fully up to date. Like, they just can't keep up.
It's everybody's website.
So y'all can go to the website, but it's kirapolson.com. I guarantee it's clearly not up to date. I mean, maybe it will be when you launch this. If you want to see the books that we publish, that's freedomhousepublishingco.com. And you get to see all of the magical books that we have published. And the gift, I've been trying to feel into what would be perfect for your listeners. And I just am feeling like you have a lot of creatives. And so I want to offer my altar tool. It's just a way that I actually allow the divine to strategize with me on which tools or which creations need to come through first.
Oh, beautiful.
So, I'll send that link over to you and they can play with it.
Beautiful. And ladies, again, all of her website and social media links and the free resource link will be on the show notes. So, Kira, I just want to say thank you so much for being on. And it's so cool to hear the work that you're doing with the women and helping them really step into their light, step into their gifts, step into their spirituality, to just continue to make so many ripple effects into our world and clear the way and remove constructs that just do not apply anymore. And also to, the written word that is coming through your women that you're working with and being able to publish that from your own publishing company. I just think that is amazing. And for your 9-year-old daughter to be like, hey, I've got something to write. Poof, here it is. Gave me goosebumps when you were talking about it. So just want to say thank you for all that you're doing and how you're changing our world.
Thank you. Thank you for what you do. And thank you for holding the space for this delicious conversation.
Thank you for listening. And if you're interested to find out what your inner power is as an animal, head over to NicoleBurgessCoaching.com/quiz. Till next time.